Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lion, the Way, and the War, where we discuss Jesus, his church, and the spiritual battle that surrounds us all. My name is Craig Allison, and I'll be your host. All right, welcome back. This should be an interesting episode and one I have wanted to do for a long time. Those of you who listen regularly to the show know that I'm not afraid of having awkward conversations, and I can't think of anything more awkward than interviewing the wife of my firstborn son on her second anniversary, which is today.
Why is that so awkward, Craig? I feel like that doesn't have to be that. You don't have to make it awkward. I feel like that's not necessary.
Yes, I do. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
2 years married to Harrison.
It's been wild.
Wow. That's something. So talk about a little bit about, because I do want to talk a little bit about the marriage, not too much, but because I don't have a formal introduction like I do for most of our guests. Tell me about your job.
Just about my job?
Yeah, what do you do?
Oh, I'm a logistics coordinator.
That sounds so fancy.
It's not that fancy. It's honestly hilarious. It was the wildest day of my life today. I work for Norton Transport.
Okay, this is also
Ringgold.
funny. Yes, this is also funny because my daughter is married, and my son-in-law also works for Norton Logistics.
And I owe him my life for getting me this job. I told him I'm going to have to name my firstborn after him for getting me the job there.
I just, it's so funny to me that like both of my son-in-law and my daughter-in-law both work for the same company.
We have a good time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But everybody's got COVID.
Unfortunately, yes. I don't. I tested negative. Hunter also tested negative. So we're in the clear for now.
Last night he's in the kitchen sneezing a lot, so I was a little bit
he's
worried.
the worst. I told him, he tested though. He told me today he had a negative.
Negative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we both are. Thank goodness.
Okay. So Norton Logistics, you guys are like scheduling trucks and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, so it's a drive-away, tow-away company. So we basically, instead of how most truck driving companies, drivers will own their own trucks and move things within the trucks. We literally move the trucks. So I get a driver, I tell him where to go, he gets in the truck, drives it to the customer's location, and then he gets out and he leaves. So
Gotcha.
We just move vehicles.
And before you worked for Norton, you made coffee.
I did, yeah. I worked for Red Owl Coffee Company. Loved that.
Here in Chattanooga also.
Yep.
And I went through the drive-through once.
Okay.
The whole time that you worked there. No, maybe twice. I might have gone through twice.
Crazy thing to admit to, but that's all right.
Yeah.
You went in there one time. I saw you in there. I made you a coffee.
Right.
You said you liked it.
Yeah, I did. I went in once, and then I went through the drive-through twice. And that's the only times I've ever had Red Owl.
Hey, that's, we're counting it as a win. Yeah. Any money made is a win.
Do you still go drink coffee from them?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
That's not weird for you?
No. Which I also still know all the people that work there.
Okay.
So I go and say hey and get a little coffee if I'm on that side of town.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to be completely honest.
Okay.
Do you have to pay for your coffee?
Always. I had to pay for my coffee when I worked there.
Really? They don't give you like just we're so glad you worked here and gave us all that time.
We
Here's
all
a
knew
free coffee.
We all knew we were in the trenches. You've got to pay for your stuff.
Yeah.
You got like a shift drink. If you like worked that day, you got one. But if you're a customer, you're a customer. You know how it goes.
Okay, best cup of coffee. Like, what is your favorite cup of coffee?
Place or type of coffee?
No. Like if you fixing yourself when you worked at Red Owl, you're fixing yourself a cup of coffee. What's it going to be?
I am a snob about it, and I don't order this whenever I go through the drive-thru because I think that I make it the best. So, medium iced Americano. Instead of adding water to the shots of espresso, I'm just pouring espresso over ice. I'm stirring in brown sugar and cinnamon into the espresso before I pour it over the ice. And then I do a splash, a literal splash of half and half.
How come you never made that for me?
You didn't ask, Craig. You never asked me. You ordered something weird every time you were there. Every time I was there and you ordered something, I thought, crazy pick, but okay. And then I made it.
Maybe I did that.
That's what happened every time.
Okay, so how's married life? Is it weird for your father-in-law to be asking you that? See, this is the awkward piece of this.
You're acting like this is so awkward. You're not asking me you better not ask me anything crazy.
I've never asked you, like, how's your married life going, though? This is the
it's
first
going
time
pretty
that I've
good.
really asked you that.
I love him. Like, it's going great, I think. We had a good anniversary dinner last night. It was fun. I got some good gifts from a bunch of people for no reason. Everybody has treated me on this anniversary even more than just Harrison, so I can't complain at all.
What I really want to talk about is, there's a couple things I want to talk about. So you married, you knew what you were getting into when you married Harrison.
Exactly, yeah.
And, like, he is he is the host of hosts. Like, he is always, he loves to host people more than anybody I know.
I'm not joking. Sometimes I show up home from, not even just at the end of my workday, I will show up on my lunch break to my house and there will be someone on my couch. Just a rando. And I'll be like, hey, how are you? I'm going to be here for 15 minutes and then I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
He's the hostess with the mostest.
Was that like an adjustment period for you? Because he's like also working through the congregation. Like, I know you guys have been having people over for dinner, like working through the entire church congregation.
I can't act like I don't enjoy it. Sometimes I say little things that makes it sound like he's just inviting somebody to my house. I have a good time.
Yeah.
And I was kind of ready for it because I know that he's a little bit of a homebody and he likes to be in his own space and he feels more comfortable there. There is literally always someone at my house, though. It's hilarious, to be honest. I was not expecting it to be to the extent that it is. But we're having a good time. It's definitely made me a little bit more open, I think, as like this is my home, welcome in. Used to, I was very like, oh my gosh, Harrison, we didn't scrub the corner of this room and we didn't do this. And I freaked out about it a lot. But people don't actually care. They just are happy to be in your home, so...
And he's turned into quite the cook too.
Oh, he's so good at it.
Yeah.
He really is the best housewife I could have asked for. I cannot complain. I really can't.
I so hope he's listening to this.
Oh, I call him that to his face. I say that openly to him. Like, he thinks it's funny.
All right, so you and I have an interesting history. So you began dating my son while I was your campus minister.
Gotcha.
And you were not only attending the student center, but you were also working.
I was trying to work there
for me as a student ambassador.
Yeah.
And so I've always wanted to ask you how that whole situation felt for you. Like, was that, because we never, and we had weekly meetings where you would come in and talk to me. As part of my job as a campus minister was to meet with all of the student ambassadors and kind of, get our weekly meeting and stuff. And so you were also dating Harrison at some point during that time. I can't remember exactly when you guys started dating. So was that
I was dating Harrison the entire time I worked there.
Okay.
So I started dating Harrison my sophomore year, I believe, of college. And I didn't become an SA until junior year. I think my second semester of sophomore year is when I had my internship.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
And so we were already dating, whenever I interviewed. And so I was a little nervous. I was more afraid that it was going to hurt my chances to work there.
Yeah.
I was just afraid you were going to be like, no, that's a little bit too close. Like, we're not, like, didn't want to appear to be, like, picking favorites or showing favor to certain people.
Right.
But I really wanted to work there. So I, like, really tried. But... I don't know. I feel like you were pretty upfront just as a boss about being, you need to separate this personal time from your time at the student center, like as a worker, because it's so overwhelming living there and working there every single day and having to be on 24/7.
Yep.
And so I feel like I think I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing those kind of things.
So you knew me as a campus minister before you knew me as like the father of the guy that you're starting to date.
I feel like it didn't change a lot for me though. Okay. You were pretty easy to talk to and just be around as a campus minister. I think that helped the boyfriend's dad situation. I think knowing you honestly probably made it a little bit easier. Yeah. To like really get in close with your family and stuff.
I can't remember when I found out that you and Harrison were dating.
We kept it under wraps for a little bit.
I
was not trying to. Yeah. You know how it goes. Everybody knows everybody in the Christian circles sometimes. Everybody's dated everybody.
I can't remember if it was like maybe on a mission trip that it just occurred to me that you guys were like, hey, maybe they've got something going on here. I can't remember.
I don't know.
I can't remember. It wasn't weird for me, though, for whatever that's worth. It was never weird for me.
Good to hear.
And our weekly meetings, I felt like were always good.
Yeah, I was definitely not about to talk about my relationship with Harrison with you. So now that's weird. So I was not trying to bring that up at any point.
Yeah. I always wondered, too, like, it would have been kind of weird if you guys had broken up and then you were still.
Oh, yeah, I was.
Like the student ambassador.
I was worried about it, to be honest with you, for a little bit. I was kind of scared.
So I have this question here, and I'm just kind of curious your response. So if someone would have told you while you were in high school that you would be serving as a student leader at the student center and that you would be dating the campus minister's son, what would your reaction been? High school Laura.
Oh, I was so not about this life in high school. I would have cracked up. Honestly, I would have just not believed that in the slightest. If you would have told me that my freshman year of college, I would have probably laughed at you and been like, oh, literally whatever. There's no way I'm going to be that involved in something like that.
So what changed? Like was there a turning point where like your life trajectory, like a switch got flipped at some point and you're like, you know what? I see myself being more and more involved in church and student, Christian stuff as a student. And like, what happened?
Oh my gosh. This is where the awkward comes in. This is what you meant by you're going to ask me so many prying questions. Okay.
You're not having to eat hot wings though right now.
Yeah, so. Honestly, this is a win versus the last time we had an interview
and
like
it was
this.
Switched, right?
Yes.
You were talking to me, asking me questions.
That was so awful. I've still yet to recover. So didn't grow up necessarily doing the church thing all that much. Mm-hmm. It was very like Christmas, Easter, whatever. Like I would go with my grandmother sometimes and I would do that. But I specifically, as I got older, like high school age, I had, I think, some what people call church hurt.
Yeah.
I had been a part of a youth group that disbanded and a bunch of crazy stuff happened. Yeah. And I really felt like all of those terrible things that were happening to me in life were because the church is so awful and all of these people claim to be a certain way. And obviously they're not because these terrible, terrible things keep happening to me.
Yeah.
And so I came into the end of my high school, beginning of college, really wanting to do anything other than church or anything that has to do with like a Christian circle.
Yeah.
Just because of, and I don't really want to call it trauma because I think that a lot of it was just in my own head, problems that I was creating for myself.
I mean, but you did share some of the stuff that went on, and it legitimately,
I've had some wild
crazy
stuff.
Yeah, it was crazy stuff.
Church as a whole for me has been a very complicated situation. I'm in such a good place now, and Harrison has helped a lot with that, just understanding the pillars that I think we place people on instead of what we place Jesus on.
Right.
And the pillars we place institutions on and different church bodies, like whatever. Mm-hmm. So I had a lot of like very complicated feelings about church when I first came into college, but surprisingly, I was always all about a church camp at all times, every single year about a church camp. Yeah. And so I still, even though I was like anti-church, I will not be attending anything. I'm not a Christian. I don't believe in God, whatever. I was still always a church camp counselor just because I love a summer camp. And so it was literally the summer before I came to college. I was a church camp counselor, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was seeing all these sweet little girls have their lives changed by Jesus or whatever. Like I had like a come to moment, I think. Mm-hmm. And I was like, like I've not been doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I've been putting people in my life through a lot of things because I'm insecure and because I am basically self-destructing at that point.
Yeah.
And so I was putting these people through everything, and I was like, I've got to change something. Like, something has got to give. I cannot keep living like this. And so we had a sermon. I could not tell you what the sermon was about. Couldn't tell you what the service as a whole was about. I don't know. But apparently something got to me because that night I decided I wanted to be baptized and that I was going to try at least. I was like, I don't know what it is, but I know that now that I've heard it and I feel moved by it, I feel like I have to do it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it would be a loss if I didn't at least try. And so I got baptized at church camp randomly. All of my friends were like, literally what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're going to start going to church? And I was like, no, I'm not going to start going to church, but I'm getting baptized and I'm going to try this, whatever. Yeah. Came to college after that summer, still definitely not trying to live a Christian life, just knowing that in the back of my mind, that I felt so moved and I really felt like I was kind of choosing a different life for myself.
Yeah.
Had a random roommate freshman year that was like, hey, the student center is having this event. It's ice cream social and I really don't want to go by myself. And one of my best friends, Anna, also came to school here. I'm from across the state, just moved here randomly to go to school. She came here too. She was also planning on going. So I was like, I mean, sure, I'll try it for the free ice cream, but like, probably not going to stick around for too long. Came and literally never left. Like,
so that was, I was going to ask.
Just was a part of the student center for 4 straight years, there every single day.
See, I didn't know that story. I didn't know how you ended up in the student center, because I was going to ask you what brought you. How'd you end up walking in the doors at the student center?
Oh, my roommate got a flyer from someone. They were door knocking or something, and she got a flyer, and I was like, ew. And also, I hate to break it to you, once I found out it was Church of Christ, because that was the church that I attended as a youth group member, I said, oh, Anna, we will not be attending this full time. We will be going to the ice cream social, and that's it, girlfriend. We will not be coming here anymore. But I don't know. I got in with like Lexi and all of them, and I literally never left. Like stayed at the student center until 3:00 in the morning every single night for 2 semesters. And so it just changed my life.
Who was the roommate that gave you the flyer?
Her name was Ashley.
And she never...
Nope, she didn't like it. She specifically, we left that night to go back home, and she was like,
not for me.
Just not my kind of people. Like, I don't think... And I was like, yeah, me either. And then I went back the next night because Anna wanted to come back, so I went back.
And Anna didn't leave. She was also a fixture there.
Oh, yeah. We were... That entire year and a half that she was in Chattanooga, we were just every single day, all day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she was actually in my office more than you were. We
she
had
sure
our daily.
was.
We had not
she
weekly.
Loves you.
We had daily meetings. Daily.
She needed them.
Know,
she has
did.
A lot.
I know. She
Sweet
needs
Anna.
to watch. She needs to watch this episode. We miss you, Anna.
That's so funny.
Were there any memories at the student center that stuck out more than others? Like, is there any defining, like, big? I'll never forget that moment, or
a lot that I probably am not allowed to tell you. A lot of crazy things that we did. Nothing too wild, but
I probably know a lot of them.
You
too.
probably do. We just were there. I'm not joking, Craig. I don't know if the student center is even supposed to be like this, or especially when you were there. We definitely had a lockdown curfew time. We were there till 5:00 in the morning every single day.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I was not expecting that in the slightest. Did I almost fail all my classes freshman year? Yes. Lost them scholarships, baby. You've got to go to class. You cannot just go to the student center and then expect to get a degree. But that's okay. I made it. And I got a degree in the end.
You know, and one of the things that I reiterated to you guys over and over again is
we have to go to class.
You have to go to class. You have to maintain a certain grade point average.
Nah. Didn't take that advice till way later in college.
Okay, so where did you meet Harrison?
I met Harrison on a mission trip. Well, that's kind of a lie. So Harrison had been in and out of the student center my freshman year, but I'd never spoken to him or anything. Yeah. Just I had seen him with people, like with Brandon or somebody. And then we went to Panama at the end of my freshman year on that mission trip. And then we were sitting around a table or something, and we started playing that card game.
So Panama was the first mission trip?
Yeah, Panama was my freshman year. So we went there, and I think I officially met him on that trip. That was the first time I'd ever spoken to him.
Okay.
And so we just, nothing crazy. It wasn't I'm going to marry this man.
No immediate,
No, I don't think so. I don't think either one of us really felt that way. It was very I don't know. I had been around Brandon and Lexi so much, who were his best friends, that I think he knew of me, but it wasn't anything
So at what point
specific.
Did you know that he was the guy that, despite me being his dad, that, there was something
Oh, it
there.
was way later than that. It was way later than that. So we started hanging out. So Anna, who we talked about, Anna moved in with you the first semester of our
that sounds
sophomore
weird.
year.
Wait, hang on. Before
You were
people are
always
listening,
housing somebody. You just
okay,
always
yes.
had a student living at your house for no
Right.
reason. And
Right.
Anna,
she wasn't specifically living with me because I'm married. I'm married.
Shit,
and
that's
so,
a crazy
yeah,
distinction that
that's-
you think you have to make
that's-
right now.
well, there's people
I don't
that
think
listen
anyone's
and-
assuming though, Craig, that that's what you mean.
It's just the way you said it.
No, you were always housing somebody. At all times
That's
there was
true.
a student living with you.
That is true.
And so Anna became that student, and since
Yep.
she was my best friend, I was just always at your house.
Yeah.
And so Harrison also lived there. And so I just was around him a lot. And so
So
that's
at
when we
what,
started dating.
yeah, and at what point was like, did you go home and say to your mom and your dad, "Hey, I've met a guy"?
No, and he would tell you that it was the opposite, that I was allegedly cheating on him for some period of time. Who knows? He makes stuff up.
So you're telling me that you don't remember there was a time in your relationship where you thought, okay, this is the guy. Like I'm gonna.
I don't know. I kind of felt Harrison is a very specific person, and he makes himself very known to you.
Yep.
And I don't know if there was one defining moment. I felt that way for a long time, though. Like there was, I don't know when it was, but there was a period of time where I was like, oh no, he's just always going to be with me.
Yeah.
Like that's just how it's going to be. Like something absolutely insane would have to happen for us to not be together anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So so would you say that he like was more interested in you and pursued you, or was it the other way around?
I mean, maybe. To be honest. I don't want to say he was more interested in me because I was definitely interested in him. I was trying to play a certain way, I think, especially then.
Yeah.
He definitely chased more though. He could tell that I was playing coy, I think. And I think he was like, okay, this is stupid. Like, this is annoying. Just, like, let's just date. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of weird, but that is him. He's like, okay, like, let's cut this. Like, cut whatever bit you're doing right now. Like, you just want to date me and I want to date you. So, like, why are we not dating?
It's so romantic of him.
I know. So kind. He's so emotional. What
Did
can
you
we
have
say?
any, I mean, you were around us a lot, so I feel like you probably knew better than most, like, what you were getting into with the whole compound and that whole thing.
I caught the vibe very quickly. Okay. I knew what was going to be happening, I think.
Yeah. Do we need to explain the compound?
You can explain that. That is your business, Craig. If you feel the need to explain the compound, then you do that. It sounds so scary. If you were having to explain yourself for the Anna thing earlier, I think you calling your home a compound and not explaining it is even wilder.
Yeah, so
that's what you're okay with.
We have for those listening, we had a group of CSC students and leaders.
We were all friends.
Some of which were part of the Harris, my son's high school group, and it just the way things worked out. A lot of those students ended up purchasing property very close to our house.
You all live on the same property, Craig. Just say it. At this point, just say it.
It
sounds weirder. Property.
It sounds weirder than what it actually is.
It sounds so strange, but let's be so for real. It works.
It does work.
And not to say that I was a hater for a little bit. Me and Harrison do not live on the compound.
Yeah.
We live like probably 15 minutes away from the compound.
Yeah.
I have FOMO like no other sometimes where I'm like, oh, I wonder what the compound's doing right now.
Yeah.
So I can't even really beef with you guys.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of jealousy there, I think.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We're working through it.
I feel like you guys are looking for places closer and closer.
We definitely are. Yeah. We definitely are.
All right. So Laura.
So intense for no reason.
What does life look like for you going forward? Like, have you and Harrison, and again, for those listening, these are questions I have never asked you.
Yeah, now you're going to make it weird. You're going to make it weird.
Are there plans for kids in the future? And like, when does that look like? Is that something you guys have talked about?
Okay.
Because I'm okay not being a grandfather at this point in my life.
At this point in your life, well, I'm not currently with child, Craig. Like, you don't have to worry about that.
Well, I'm talking like next 2, 3, 4, 7
No,
years.
I'm trying to convince the compound. This is what I'm doing. I'm trying to convince everyone to have kids at the same time. And then I want Lexi, who is an elementary school teacher, to homeschool all of our children together. I don't know if it's going to work out. I don't know. And I'm rooting for it to be in the next, how old am I? 5 years. Probably, I would like it to be when I'm like 29 or 30.
Okay. See, I didn't know that you were trying to
used to
take
be
the compound into a legitimate cult type thing.
Okay, great. As someone who started the compound, that's a wild thing for you to try to say.
Well, I'm just saying,
Okay.
I mean, you get the whole, like homeschooling, the whole.
Well, think about it. Where the schools are crazy, that's just how it goes. And all of our kids, if they're all the same age, then we can all just pay Lexi to teach our children. And then she doesn't have to worry about the teacher salaries, Craig.
Okay.
Because we'll just pay her more.
Yeah, see, I didn't know this.
We'll together pay her. Well, here's the thing. I've not told anybody this. I am acting like I have this plan. I have not told anyone this plan except Harrison. But that's what I want.
Okay.
We used to be, we're not having kids. Absolutely not. Yada, yada. And I had numerous older women tell me that when I turned 25, that was going to change. And I said, absolutely not. Kids are gross. I'll just have nieces and nephews. And look where we are.
Now,
25.
Now you're thinking about it. Yep.
Look where we are.
So, like, Harrison is pretty involved in church stuff. Is that, like, do you like that kind of routine and life now? Is that, like, going forward, you see you guys really wanting to just plant roots, like, here? Or I get a vibe from Harrison maybe sometimes that he wants to.
He's a wild card. You really can't put your finger on him because when you think he's going to go right, he's going to go left.
Yes.
That's just how he is. I love to be involved, period. Like, I am just someone who has always been that way. When I was in school, like high school, I was in all the clubs. When I got to college, I immediately wanted to be involved at the Student Center and not only be involved, but work there. And I've been that way at jobs. Like, I like to be a little bit in charge. I'm a little bit bossy, if you can tell. I just like being involved. I think it makes your experience somewhere better. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a lot easier to complain about things when you're the one who's super involved in them. Yeah. And I just love to complain sometimes. That's just how I am. But the involvement to the extent that Harrison is involved is a lot. I think that Harrison has a lot going on. Yeah. And I think he spreads himself a little thin sometimes. But I think he likes that. Yeah. He's just a busybody. He enjoys always having something to do, never having a single bit of downtime, unless he has specifically set aside that downtime to be his. Yeah. And
and I'm asking this because as I was thinking about like the types of questions I wanted to ask you, outside of the fact that you're my daughter-in-law, and that I thought it would just be funny. Watching you guys, specifically like our encounter group, and for those listening, the encounter group is like just the young professional group. We're talking post-college to, 30s or that kind
probably
of thing.
Like 30 or something.
Just all the stuff going on here at Central, the opportunities, and having a church environment that really, over the last couple of years has been something that has just blossomed in a lot of different ways. A lot of the things like I'm thinking about, coming up, we've got the Bark and Bath thing, which is super cool. Just stuff like that. For y'all's age demographic, I'm thinking if I was back your age, this would be a cool kind of church to be part of.
Yeah, for sure.
With that type of stuff and vibe going on. So
well, it's designed to be that way. So the events that we have and the things you can be involved in here are designed to be fun and to want for someone who, whether they're a member of this church, whether they're just a community member, for it to be something that you can show up to and have a good time at, and then also have some fellowship at. Yeah. I think that kind of that young professional, like right before you have kids, maybe even you've got some small kids, that age group is kind of hard to grab sometimes because you are so focused on either your future children or focused on finding a life partner or finding a place for your current children to go to. I think that a lot of young professional age people a lot of the time get so locked into trying to look ahead to that kind of stuff and trying to find a church that's going to perfectly meet all your standards and you are going to show up and there's going to be this program that's ready to go for you, whatever. I think that has kind of been a little bit of a trend, like to just show up and find a church that already has exactly what you want.
Right.
And so Harrison and I really feel like Like, why could we not just design that?
Yeah.
Like, why would we not just show up and create that?
Yep.
Because then it's going to be exactly what we want it to be.
Yeah.
Or if it doesn't work, we'll try something else. But we've kind of locked in on that here.
Right. Yeah. I feel like we did a lot of stuff, and some things stuck really, really well. Some things not as much. And then this coming, like, I feel like we're coming into our own. We're beginning to come into our own, where I'm excited, really, and especially the energy that you guys are bringing to Central here. I think, man, more people need to know about it. They really do, because there's like a lot of exciting stuff happening here.
Yeah.
So many different opportunities, ministry opportunities. So yeah, I'm excited for that. And I was just interested in like how you guys are looking at Central going forward, as far as like family and roots and all of that kind of thing.
We kind of decided a few years ago. So whenever I was doing a lot of the children's stuff here, I was like really trying to get something started, and I was like, hey, we've got to do something for these kids. Like, we've got them and we don't want to lose them, and we don't want to lose their families and stuff. I got a little discouraged just because church work does that to you sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes programs don't work.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a fact that we just kind of have to accept as church members, is that you can't force people to get on board with you. And I think I was doing a lot of that, and I was just not asking for help, and I was really taking it all in and like kind of putting it on myself that things weren't going well and programs weren't working. And then because I was tired of putting it on myself, I was like, no, it's not my fault. It's the church's fault.
Yeah. The
church is not being supportive. They are not doing this or not doing that. When in reality, we were not at a spot to be able to support that kind of program, I don't think.
Right.
We didn't have the resources for it. We didn't have the kids, the amount that we needed to be able to have the program that I wanted. And so I got a little discouraged, and me and Harrison had a really serious conversation about kind of our future here, and whether we thought that it was going to be worth putting all this work in and not getting anything out of it. And we talked for a really long time, and we kind of decided that everywhere we go is going to be like that. If I'm going to show up with the mindset that I'm going to put all this work in and not get anything out of it, like, what was I supposed to be getting out of it? You know what I mean? Like, I'm serving the Lord. Like, that's what I'm getting out of it.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was expecting other kind of gratification from it was kind of silly of me. And so we decided, we were like, we are going to lock in at Central, and we are going to try hard in everything we do, and we're going to try 55 different programs for no reason, and we're going to try to create all these things and these events. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. As long as the church is doing what we think is scripturally correct, we're going to continue to go here.
Yeah.
Because it is really our family, I think. Like, I think Central has really, these past few years, worked hard on building intergenerational relationships with one another.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it really does. I think it would really break my heart for us to leave the family that we have here. Yeah. So,
you know, and I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm thinking about this idea of a lot of, you know, I don't want to pigeonhole any demographic, but I see a lot, and I spoke a little bit about this last Sunday when I talked about we're such a consumer-driven society right now, and that bleeds into the church, and we have, you know, we have a lot of members in the church at large. I'm not saying Central specifically, but at large, that come to church and they're like, what is this church going to do for me? You know, so it's, I'm going to consume.
yeah.
And, you know, I don't know that that's the right attitude to have. I think that you're talking about really what demonstrative faith looks like, which is I'm not here to see how I can be spoon fed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna plug in, and I'm gonna work, and I'm gonna make a difference here, and I'm gonna, you know, if there's a program here that I want that it's not here, I'm not gonna say, oh, we're gonna go look for another church that has it. We're gonna create that program here. You know, taking that initiative and looking for those opportunities to minister. And I think at the end of the day, Christians that do that have that mindset of, it's like, you know, Kennedy's, I'm going to botch up the statement, but ask not what you can do for your country, ask, you know, what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for you. So it's that kind of thing. And the takeaway from that is how you are left feeling about your church family, which if you've invested and you've put the time into it, then it's way more important to you, and you're gonna want to hold on to that more than the person who's just church hopping and looking to see how do I get whatever it is I want out of this, and if it's not what I want, then I'm gonna go look some other place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the church wasn't created to be a children's ministry or to be a young professional ministry or to be all these things. It literally was Christians who had, or people who had one thing in common, and it's that they were Christians and that they were being mistreated by everyone else. And so they needed to have relationships with each other in order to make it through life.
Yeah.
And in order to provide for their families. And I think that when we stopped, I don't know when, I mean, honestly, I'm acting like I have such a long history with church. When the church changed, I have no clue. But it doesn't make sense to me that we would act like the church is supposed to be anything other than that. Like, no, these are the people that I'm going to have a family with. Like the compound.
Yeah.
So those are the people that I want to have my children with because I want my children to grow up with those kids.
Yeah.
Because I think that their parents are good, Christian, God-loving people. And I go to this church because all of these relationships I have at this church are the only reason that I'm able to make it through life. That I can deal with all of the past stuff that I've dealt with, like that I have a job. My brother-in-law got me a job. I go to church with him. You know what I mean? Like relationships like that are the reason why the church exists. And so I don't understand why we would act like it's for the different programs that churches provide. Yeah. That we would just attend one. And if you're, I don't know. I've never really moved around churches a lot. I've kind of always stuck at one because once again, I like to be involved. I think I have a better time when I'm involved. And so you can't get involved if you're going to a different one every other week. Yeah. So,
you said, I'm thinking about this too also, the compound, back to the compound again.
The compound that keeps coming up is hilarious.
It is an extension of the church.
Yeah. Like it's Acts 2.
It is. Everybody that is in that compound, that we live very close to each other and we're doing stuff together daily. These are all church members that go to Central. And so I guess I'm wondering, like, there needs to be more compounds. Really.
And that's the thing. Is that we don't have to have one compound.
No.
There doesn't have to be one that everyone views as the weird. They all live on the same property.
Right.
But I mean, well, you think also families used to be that way. Yeah. You know what I mean? In lots of cultures, multiple generations are living in one house. Yeah. Because it's the easiest way to provide for everybody. So why would it not be the same with these teeny tiny little families that we all have? Yeah. All of these married couples that live together. Yeah. So like, there should be more.
I think so.
I told people that. And look, it's a hard sell whenever people are like, so like, because once you get out of college, ultimately when you enter that young adult ministry age, you're going to be asked, how does everyone stay faithful after leaving college? Mm-hmm. Or if you've experienced something like the Student Center where it's like 100% of the time, 24/7, Christian environment immersion, and then you graduate and you enter the workforce and you're just, paying bills and working every single day and not spending 24/7 with people who are also Christians. The first thing you get asked is, how do you stay faithful in your life now that you've left that kind of environment? Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's how I've stayed faithful. Yeah. It's because I have a husband who, I don't want to say forces, but that is the spiritual leader of our house that ensures that we're both okay spiritually and that we're both trying. We have that. I have friends that I know if I stopped attending or if I had something serious go wrong in my life or something happen that was going to shake me, that would say something to me. Right. And that would expect a certain thing in return if something happened to them. Yeah. So that's like, once again, the compound's a hard sell, but it's literally how I've stayed faithful and how I think a lot of us have continued to grow the way we have together. So.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. I was never wired to be like in that type of closeness. Like I just have this more of a, like wanting to go and explore and adventure and if somebody said, hey, there's an opportunity to move across, to Hawaii tomorrow, I'm like, all right, man, let's do it. Yeah. But now being exposed to that, the type of living that Betsy and I are part of right now, and that would be hard to give up because of just how integral that is to my faith now. And I think other people that come in and see that, and they pick up that vibe. They kind of like, that's kind of cool. You know, it's not so weird. When you try to explain it to other people, it is weird. Like the wedding we went to a few weeks back.
Oh, and it was a whole bit the entire time that everyone lived on the same property. Because it's weird. Because it's a little bit weird.
It is. But, yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, hey, everybody's got their things.
All right, this has been... this wasn't as bad as what you thought it was going to be.
I did think this was going to be painful. I'll be honest with you.
Not bad.
I thought it was going to be really awkward.
What was painful was when you interviewed me and you made me eat the
literally
hot wings.
Painful
literally
for days. Yeah.
All right, so I've got a few things I'm going to plug right now that we don't normally plug. The first thing for those listening is the Awaken Chattanooga Faith Lectureships, which is being hosted by Central Church of Christ here at 400 Vine Street in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. This is going to start on June 11th, which is a Wednesday, and every week thereafter, each Wednesday from 6:30, beginning at 6:30, we're going to have speakers from across the region coming in to discuss. Each of these guys, also the speakers coming in, are authors, and they're going to be talking about their book, and it's going to be a faith-related topic. Going to have food trucks every time, every Wednesday, so that's going to be cool. And I've got this pulled up. For those listening, I want you to know the types of speakers coming in. If you are in the realm of church stuff and you listen to the larger conferences, some of these names are going to be very familiar to you. So John Young, Joe Wells, Lonnie Jones. He's spoken here before. Lonnie is one of these guys that speaks at these really large conferences. Phenomenal speaker. Jimmy Seitz, Jimmy Seitz, man, this guy is friends with Phil Robertson, has been hunting with the Duck Dynasty folks, has Ted Nugent on his speed dial. He's on like Fox News for giving commentary on different religious stuff. Has spoken with retreats for Dave Ramsey, has taught those. So that, like, Jimmy Seitz is a big deal. He's written some fantastic books. Steve Miller, Kirk Brothers, he is the president at Heritage University. Jerry Elder, one of the premier phenomenal youth group ministers in this region. So, I mean, these are like amazing, top-notch speakers. So if you're in the Chattanooga area at like within an hour's driving distance, you need to be checking this out. Awaken Chattanooga. It's a new thing that Central is starting, and we're hoping that this is going to be like the go-to conference in the summertime. So hopefully you will come and join us for that. And then also, I always want to, like I do every time we do this, is to plug the podcast that we are doing on Sundays, which is, if you got your screen there, Parker's probably going to pull that up for you. It's called After Sunday Digging Deeper. I'm surprised you haven't been on that podcast yet, or co-hosting it, or filling in, or something like that. But it has every Sunday, and it is a recap of our lesson, and it's kind of cool to listen to the takeaways from the Sunday morning lessons. And also then one of our sponsors, Ministry League, talk about their app, phenomenal app. It's got so much stuff on there. If you haven't downloaded that app, you need to download that app. And then finally, if you want to email us, our email address, thelinetheway@gmail.com. We always love to get your feedback and your ideas for speakers, for guests. Also, forgot to add, with the Awaken Chattanooga, I'm going to have each of those speakers here on the podcast through June and July, so that should be interesting. So that's a lot of stuff going on. Hopefully, if you are listening to this on YouTube and you haven't clicked the subscribe button, go ahead and do that. If you like to watch these podcasts, that's where you're going to do it, on our YouTube channel. And then obviously, if you don't watch that, you can listen to us on all the streaming platforms. Okay, Laura, you're going to close out our podcast with a scripture.
Ooh, yeah. This was awkward for me to try and pick out because Craig didn't tell me I was going to have a favorite scripture, but this one is good. Okay, it's Psalm 91, 1-4. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. For he will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his pinions, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and a buckler.
I wonder if the Thou, O Lord, are shield about me, if that's a reference to that psalm. I don't know either. All right, folks, until our next podcast of The Lion, the Way, and the War, love one another, be kind to one another. Remember that the creator of the universe loves you so much that he gave up his only son for you. Have a blessed day.